Aloha, CT Luna here. Welcome to the Audio Lab. Throughout the month of July, I'm running a little experiment. I know so many of you love to listen to your books, and since I'm getting ready to eventually record and publish the official audiobook for Brown Beyond Borders, I wanted to practice out loud with you all first. So every single day this month, I'm pulling up a chair, reading a few passages of my memoir right here. If you're on the free list, these daily drops will stay open for just a few days before they head into the archives for my paid subscribers. So make sure you keep up. And if you ever miss a session or want to just unlock the whole archive to listen at your own pace, you can upgrade to a paid subscription at any time. But today we're going to pick up where we left off. We were on the island of Maui in chapter 8. So I'm picking up at around these three dots here, and I'm not sure if the page will be exactly the same for you all, but it's 126 in my book, which is a very early edition, an author proof edition. So let's get started. Sometimes a change of scenery can do more than refresh your Instagram feed. For me, moving to Maui was like hitting a giant reset button on my life. It was about shaking things up, getting out of my comfort zone, and seeing myself and the new world and the world in a new light. On Maui, I couldn't just act and react on autopilot anymore. I had to pause and look around and actually think about my choices, my reactions, and what I really valued. The new environment disrupted my autopilot. It was like a breath of fresh air. Suddenly, I was curious again, curious about the island, its nature, its people, its culture, its movements, curious about myself and what I was capable of. And that curiosity opened me up to new possibilities I'd never even considered before. Of course, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, although there was a lot of both. Moving to a new place, especially one so different from where I grew up, definitely challenged my assumptions. I had to confront my own biases and examine my beliefs. It was uncomfortable at times, but it was also incredibly eye opening. I learned a great deal about myself and the world around me. Most importantly, Maui gave me the space to breathe, to reflect, and to dig deep. Away from the noise and pressure of my old life, I could finally hear my inner voice. And that's when the fundamental transformation began. I started to question the old narratives I'd accepted about success and happiness. In the following chapters, I'll get deeper into the journey of redefining success. I'll share my personal experiences, the challenges I faced, and the lessons I learned. I'll also introduce you to other inspiring individuals who have dared to break free from conventional definitions and forge their paths to fulfillment. Together, we will explore the transformative power of redefining success, embracing our unique identities, and creating a world where taking the path of the soul's vision is the measure of success for all. In moving to Maui, a seed of transformation had been planted. The distance from my old life in Washington, combined with exposure to new experiences and an openness to them, had cracked open the rigid shell of my preconceived notions of success. The traditional definition, built on material wealth and corporate climbing, no longer resonated with the woman I was becoming. This realization was not a sudden epiphany, but a gradual shift in perspective. As I explored the island's vibrant culture, connected with its diverse communities, and immersed myself in its natural beauty, I began to understand that success was not a singular destination, but a journey of self discovery and fulfillment. It was about aligning my actions with my values, embracing my unique identity, and making a meaningful contribution to the world. For me, developing a new understanding of success was not an intellectual exercise, but a necessity. I began to question the limiting beliefs that had held me back and the societal pressures that had dictated my choices. I shed the frito misto persona, the fragmented self, juggling multiple roles to please others. Instead, I basked in the privilege of blending in, not being asked where I was from by the people around me, whose shades of brown were a marker of their belonging on the island, not a point of differentiation. My journey of redefining success was not without its challenges. When the journey began, I was not even aware that I had embarked on it. There were moments of doubt, setbacks, and the lingering pull of old habits. But with each step, I felt a growing sense of liberation. I was open to new things. For example, I started to look at my resume more creatively, considering transferable skills, and with that, I developed a newfound confidence in making my own path. That's when I stopped chasing someone else's idea of success and began actively creating my own. Lisa Nichols was an influential teacher for me on self belief and inner wisdom, empowering me to trust my intuition and follow my heart. Her messages were all the more potent because she looked like me, a woman of color. Quote, make sure you measure success by the right barometer, end quote. She cautions on in a YouTube video called Three Brutal Truths About Success You Must Hear Today. Although I didn't know it at the time, my journey on Maui was about discovering my personal barometer for success. From her and several other spiritual teachers I stumbled upon during my time there, I learned that true success comes from aligning my actions with my core values, living authentically, and making a positive impact on the world. If you stop to examine your behavior for a moment, you might find that you do many things simply because that's what's done, but you're not entirely sure why. In my case, I was applying for numerous office jobs and desk jobs simply because I figured that's the sort of work I should be doing. And then there was a little voice inside. I am not my job. A job is something I perform. I allowed myself a moment to forget about applying for the jobs I thought were a good fit for my resume or that continued the trajectory I was already on. You know, the trajectory that had led me to being unemployed, living in a cottage we couldn't afford next to a meth lab. I took the day off. I drove down to Paia, a lovely hippie town at the base of Haleakala, and I sat on the beach. And I did nothing. It was the first time in months, maybe even years, where I spent more than half an hour doing nothing. Not working, not looking for work, not complaining about work, not whining about my life, not shopping, not cleaning the house, not watching TV. Nothing. I tuned out for more than an hour and just let go. When I picked my sweetheart up from his job at Mana Foods, I chatted with him about the beach and how I want to pump the brakes on all my busyness. Later that day, we found a small studio apartment on Craigslist, centrally located in Waikapu. In general, my sweetheart favors small places, studios, one bedrooms. We called a woman named Susan who showed us her studio, Ohana, on the lot of her home. It was exactly what we were looking for, small and affordable and centrally located on the island, not halfway up the volcano. We agreed to move in by the first of the month, and Susan handed us the keys right then and there. The next day, I got a call from a temp agency. A lead construction worker was looking for an executive assistant. I no longer recall the details of how I landed the job or what the interview process looked like. Still, 2 days later, I was sitting at the desk of an office in a yet to be built resort clear across the other side of the island in a town past Lahaina called Ka'anapali. A woman named Debbie showed me the ropes as she hastily packed up her personal effects to move on to her next job. I'm going to join the sales support team at the Westin in Lahaina, she said, indicating with her head that it was in the direction we had both come from. Oh, that's great, I responded. I only had a vague notion that the Westin was a hotel group, and I wasn't sure what a sales team or sales support would do. Yeah, I couldn't stay here, she continued vaguely. It's really lonely. There's no one around. I had noticed that too. I noticed that, but I need this job, so I'm grateful to be here. It's not so bad, but it can get pretty boring, she said. Like, really boring. There was a pregnant pause after that, and in a few minutes, she was gone with her things. Sure enough, it didn't take me 2 days to realize how quiet things were. My boss, the lead construction manager, was a lovely man, but very quiet. He had a deputy who is a local, a jovial Hawaiian fellow who knew the island ways, and presumably also had the contacts in the county government to secure the necessary permits, etc. For my job, I took to filing and occasionally checking emails, but things rarely came in for my boss that didn't go to him directly anyway. I continued filing. I ordered filing supplies and straightened out some more things. I worked on this project for nearly 2 months, 5 days a week. Let me try that again. I worked on this project for nearly 2 months, 5 days a week. You'd think that I was bored out of my mind. You'd be right too. Still, this time in my life was so simple. The activities of my life had been reduced to the absolute essentials. I had a job. We lived in a warmer part of the island, centrally located in our tiny studio. My husband picked up another job on the south side of the island at a higher end, fancy casual Japanese Hawaiian restaurant, and we would set out in the morning together to go in our separate directions. Before we each went into our respective jobs, we would buy a couple of cups of coffee, sit by the beach, and look out to the ocean for 30, 45, or even just 20 minutes. All my concerns and worries had evaporated the moment I landed this job. Of course, I know it wasn't the job, it was me. I was bored out of my mind and 100% okay with that. Eckhart Tolle begins his book, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment, with a powerful declaration in the first chapter titled, You Are Not Your Mind. In those days, I was not yet familiar with Tolle's writings, but I was starting to see how my mind had had its way with me. It had created a reality which I didn't even completely believe in, and I had fully succumbed to it. During one of my lunch breaks, for which I would head out to my car or a nearby palm tree in the parking lot, I remember feeling an overwhelming emotion of gratitude. It was odd because I wasn't thinking about anything in particular. Little did I know, but my quotidian boredom created the perfect conditions to lull my mind into stillness, allowing for spiritual appreciation to rise to my consciousness. That lunchtime, I was awestruck by all the beauty that surrounded me. The plants, periodically and strategically placed all over the asphalt clearing, the infinitely blue sky, the birds, the fragrance of plumeria in the air, and the silence. Tears welled up in my eyes. I was so overcome with wonder. If you had been there that day, you'd have thought I had lost my mind because the parking lot was very muddy. It was a construction site. Any sane person would have seen this muddy reality, but all I saw was perfection. Everything was perfect, exactly as it was meant to be. My mind was still, and all I felt was a beautiful warmth that embraced my entire being. That was the first time I had captured stillness in my mind. Today, I'm aware that when I'm in a state of appreciation, genuine gratitude for everything I have in the moment, the mind can't function. It must be still. This is what being in a state of wonder is. The mind is silent. There is no prior data or history to kick off the mind's activities. Magic happens in moments like those. The world around you takes on a shine and a sparkle. You could be in the depths of a subway station, on a construction site's muddy parking lot, cowering in a basement closet, in the ugliest, darkest, scariest place on earth, but what you see is something entirely different. What you know is something entirely different. In moments like those, there's a shift into a new reality, your true reality. And once you've seen it, every other moment feels untrue to you. It can last less than a minute, but you'll know that it encompasses an entire lifetime. Keep an eye out for moments like those because they often signal new things coming your way. Good things are coming your way, and you'll want to be ready for it all. Later that afternoon, Debbie returned to the office. She had called me shortly after my lunch break and asked if the boss was around. He wasn't. So she popped by. Hey, listen, Cynthia, she said. I've just gotten a job at the West End, and I think you'd be a great fit for the team. I don't have any hospitality experience, I wavered. That's not a problem, she continued merrily. The job is actually about processing documents for the timeshare side of the business. I just started as a manager there, and we're still looking to build up the team. Sometimes the most profound shifts happen when we least expect them, when we're not frantically chasing, striving, or trying to force things to fit into a mold that was never meant for us. Remember that construction site parking lot? Muddy, mundane, and seemingly insignificant? Yet it was there, in that moment of stillness, that my soul cracked open. The beauty I perceived wasn't in the physical surroundings, but in the quietude of my mind. In that space of no thought, a more profound awareness emerged, a knowing that there was so much more to life than the hustle and grind. That's the magic, dear reader. In these moments of stillness, of presence, that we tap into our inner wisdom, our intuition, our true selves. When I stopped trying to control everything and allowed life to unfold, that's when I opened myself up to the infinite possibilities that surrounded me. Those moments of magic, they're signposts. They guide us toward our true path. They are the whispers from the universe, reminding us that we are on the right track. So keep an eye out for them. Pay attention to those subtle shifts in energy, those synchronicities that seem too good to be true. They're not. They're the universe conspiring in your favor. And that's where we're stopping for today. If you have a question about the book, the writing process, or anything we covered in today's segment, drop it in the comments of this post, and I might just answer yours on a future episode. I've got to tell you, we are literally in the thick of my favorite part of the book. And I'm so excited to get to share this unedited process with you. And I'm really looking forward to entering into chapter 9 tomorrow. If you know somebody who would connect with this part of the journey, please share this post with them while it's still open to the public. And if you want to support this audio experiment and my writing as I start drafting book 2, consider becoming a paid subscriber to unlock everything. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.